They called him a monster long before he ever believed it himself. A man rebuilt with metal and regret, limping through a colony that would rather pretend he never survived. But on a night when the wind pressed against the old barn walls, something unexpected happened. Something soft, glowing, and impossibly gentle. A small alien girl stepped from the shadows, her freckles pulsing like tiny stars, and asked the one question he never thought he'd hear again. Can monsters be daddies? And suddenly, everything he thought he knew about himself began to crack. If that opening pulled you in even a little, hit that like button. It helps more than you think. And if you enjoy rich HFY stories with heart, suspense, and a bit of cosmic wonder, consider subscribing so you never miss a new tale. Share it with someone who loves sci-fi that still feels human. The colony always whispered about the creature that lived beyond the wheat fields, half man, half machine, patched together with wires and regret. They said he limped through the nights like a broken shadow. They warned their children never to wander near the old barn unless they wanted nightmares following them home. Thomas Kane didn't mind the rumors anymore. Rumors kept people away, and distance was easier than disappointment. His mechanical leg clicked steadily as he crossed the dark fields, the sound echoing just enough to warn anyone who might be bold or foolish enough to be nearby. He preferred people to have time to retreat. It spared him the looks, the flinches, the questions no one dared to ask out loud. The barn waited in silence, its wooden ribs creaking in the cold. A perfect place for someone like him, too human to be machine, too machine to be accepted as human. He pushed the door open and froze. There, sitting cross-legged on the dusty floor, was a tiny figure with glowing freckles scattered across pale blue skin. Her hair, thin and white as frost, fell around her face in tangled waves. She looked up at him with wide silver eyes. Not scared, not shocked, just tired. "I'll be quiet," she whispered. "Please don't make me leave." For a moment, Thomas wondered if he was hallucinating again. Another ghost created by lonely nights and faulty cybernetics. But the child didn't vanish. She blinked slowly, her freckles brightening and dimming like a heartbeat. "Kid," he said carefully, "you shouldn't be here." "I know." Her voice trembled, but I didn't know where else to go. He stepped further inside, keeping distance. He'd seen Valori before, the native people of this world, but never this close and never a child. And certainly never alone. "Where's your family?" he asked. Her eyes softened. "Gone," she said simply. "A sickness came last winter." She spoke without accusation, but the implication hung heavy between them. The colonists had brought many things to this planet. Some good, some not. "How long have you been hiding here?" 3 months, she replied. "People give me food sometimes, when no one's watching." Her gaze traveled up his frame. The metal plates, the synthetic skin, the faint red glow of his right cyber eye. "The children said a monster lives here." She tilted her head, studying him openly. "Are you the monster?" His jaw clicked softly as the servos adjusted. "That's what they call me." She considered that, then shrugged. "You don't look very scary." That startled him more than if she'd screamed. "You look sad," she added quietly. He didn't know what to do with that. Sadness was a luxury he hadn't allowed himself for years. "You can stay tonight," he finally said. "But tomorrow—" "Because you're a monster?" she interrupted. "Because," he corrected, "I'm not the best company, especially for a kid." She got up, stepping closer on soft bare feet. "The elders say humans are monsters. They say humans cut our silver trees and broke our sacred grounds. But some humans gave me food. Are those humans monsters too?" Thomas sighed heavily and sat down on a sleeping bag. "The universe isn't that simple." She hesitated before lowering herself beside him, curling her legs like she'd done this 1,000 times. "My name is Lyra," she said. "What's yours?" "Thomas." She nodded, satisfied. "Thomas the monster." He huffed. "Something like that." Her freckles brightened. "Can I ask something?" He didn't answer, but she took the silence as permission. "Can monsters be daddies?" Thomas froze. "What?" he managed. Lyra stepped closer. "I've been watching you." "Great," he thought. "That's comforting." "I saw you fix the broken pump by the fields," she continued. You left it before sunrise so the humans wouldn't know who helped. And you put food at the Valori camps near the river. You followed me? He said, almost choking. She nodded. Monsters and stories don't fix things. They don't bring food. They don't look lonely when children run away from them. Her voice grew small. I need somewhere to stay. Winter is coming again. She looked up at him, silver eyes trembling. And I thought, maybe monsters and orphan aliens could be family. The words didn't just land. They cracked something inside him. For years, he'd walked like a ghost, surviving but never living. The explosion that tore away half his body had also ripped out something deeper. Hope. Purpose. Any future he thought he'd have. He'd accepted his role as the colony's cautionary tale. But this small alien child looked at him like he was something else. Someone else. Someone capable of more than just existing. And for a heartbeat, he let himself imagine it. The barn warm, the nights less empty, someone waiting for him to come home. The colony won't like it, he warned softly. She shrugged. They already hate me, and they already hate you, so we could be hated together. That was such brutally simple logic, he almost laughed. But we won't be alone, she added. That silenced him. Slowly, as though afraid he'd disappear, Lyra reached out and touched the metal plate on his forearm. Her fingers were warm. Gentle. You fix things, she whispered. Maybe you can fix me too. And maybe I can fix you. He swallowed, his throat tight. We'll need to make this place livable, he said finally. Proper heating. Better insulation. Her freckles glowed bright. Does that mean yes? He hesitated. But the little alien girl already knew the answer. She wrapped her arms around him in a sudden hug. Thomas stiffened, unsure whether to pull away or break apart. But her warmth seeped through the metal, through the synthetic tissue, through the years of distance he'd built around himself. I'll try, he whispered, but I don't know how good I'll be. That's okay, she said, smiling into his chest. I'm part alien. You're part monster. We can learn together. And just like that, something long dormant in him flickered back to life. I'll get you proper clothes, he said, clearing his throat. And maybe some blankets. And tomorrow, we start fixing this place up. Her eyes widened with hope. Thomas, can we also fix the silver trees? The ones the humans cut. He closed his eyes, remembering the seeds he'd hidden away, the last of their kind. We can try, he said. We can always try. Outside, the colony slept peacefully, unaware that in a quiet old barn, a new kind of family was forming, one that might just change everything. Snow arrived earlier than anyone expected. Not the soft, gentle kind, but the biting, merciless kind that swept over New Haven Colony like a warning. The kind that made doors slam, heaters groan, and people stay indoors whispering about omens, curses, and monsters. In the old barn at the edge of the settlement, Thomas Kane worked through the night. Wires, scrap metal, heating coils. Anything he could salvage, he reshaped with the precision of a man who once built reactors before one tore his life apart. Sparks flew. Steam hissed. The air smelled of hot metal and old memories. Behind him, wrapped in a patched blanket, Lyra watched sleepily with her glowing freckles dimming in a slow rhythm. You don't have to stay awake, Thomas said without turning. It'll be warm enough soon. I want to see you fix things, she murmured. It makes me feel safe. Safe. He hadn't heard that word in years, not directed at him. She trusts you, Tom, he muttered to himself. Don't screw this up. With one final adjustment, the heater hummed to life, radiating warmth through the barn. Lyra's freckles brightened instantly. It feels like summer, she said, delighted. He gave a small smile. Glad it works. But the moment of peace was short-lived. The barn door slammed open. Two colonists stood there, Howell and Brigson, armed with shock rifles and self-righteous anger. They didn't even look at the new heater or the blankets or the fragile little girl sitting quietly on a crate. They stared only at Thomas and the alien child. So it's true, Howell sneered. You're harboring one of them. Thomas stepped in front of Lyra instinctively. She's a child. She's done nothing wrong. Brigson spat on the ground. Her people killed our livestock, sabotaged our irrigation lines. They're hostile, every one of them. Lyra shrank behind Thomas. We didn't do that, she whispered. Valory, do not harm life. We honor. Silence, Howell snapped. Thomas's cybernetic eye glowed a low, threatening red. You came into my home, he said calmly, aiming weapons at scared kid. Think about what that makes you. Brigson raised his rifle. Move aside, Kane. We're taking her in. For questioning. Thomas's voice dropped to a quiet rumble. Over my dead body. Brigson's mouth twisted. That could be arranged. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The snow outside, howled like the planet itself, was watching. Then, Lyra stepped out from behind Thomas, trembling but defiant. Thomas is not a monster, she said. But you act like ones. Howell sneered. Listen to it. Copying human speech like a parrot. Thomas felt something break inside him. Not physically, but deeper. He tolerated their insults for years. Their fear. Their avoidance. Their cruelty. But this wasn't about him anymore. This was about a child who believed in him. A child who asked if monsters could be daddies. A child who thought he could be one. He stepped forward. You will not touch her. Brigson laughed. You think you're strong enough to stop us? No, Thomas said. I know I am. The first shot cracked through the barn like lightning. Thomas moved before thinking, his cybernetic reflexes kicking in. He shoved Lyra behind the tool bench and took the blast to his metal shoulder. Sparks erupted, but he didn't fall. He charged. Howell didn't even have time to react before Thomas ripped the rifle from his hands and snapped it cleanly in two. Brigson swung his weapon like a club, but Thomas caught it mid-swing and yanked him forward, slamming the man against a wooden beam hard enough to rattle his teeth. Get out, Thomas growled. Howell scrambled outside, dragging Brigson with him. They disappeared into the storm, shouting something about command, security officers, punishment. Lyra ran to Thomas, her small hands hovering over the scorched metal. Thomas, your shoulder. It's nothing, he said, wincing. But it wasn't nothing. That blast was meant to kill. Lyra's freckles flickered rapidly, a sign he was learning meant fear. They'll come back, she whispered. More of them. I know, and they'll hurt you. I've been hurt before. Thomas, you can't fight everyone. I don't need to fight everyone, he said gently. I just need to protect you. She stared up at him, this half-machine man who stood between her and a world that hated them both. Why? She asked in a small voice. Why protect me? Thomas knelt, lowering himself until their eyes met. Because you asked me a question, he said softly. A question no one else ever asked. She blinked. If monsters can be daddies? He nodded. I'm trying to be worthy of the yes I gave you. Lyra threw her arms around him, tears clinging to her pale blue cheeks. And in that moment, something shifted, not just between them, but in Thomas himself. He wasn't a mistake. He wasn't a warning sign. He wasn't the colony's ghost. He was a father now, and fathers didn't run. They fought. By morning, alarms echoed across the colony. Rumors spread like wildfire. The monster attacked 2 colonists. He's hiding a Valory child. He's dangerous. He's unstable. He must be removed. Thomas expected fear. What he didn't expect were visitors. Mrs. Chin showed up first, leaving a basket of bread and dried fruit at the barn door without saying a word. Then little Oscar, shivering in the snow, dropped off a tiny coat he'd outgrown. By noon, 3 more colonists came quietly. By evening, a dozen. None asked to see Lyra. None asked to see Thomas. They simply left supplies, blankets, seeds, medicine, small acts of defiance against fear. Tiny sparks of humanity. Lyra watched from inside, touched and stunned. Thomas, they don't hate us. Not all of them, he said. Some people just need a reminder. A reminder of what? That we're not enemies, Thomas said. We're neighbors. Lyra stepped closer and took his hand. Family, he looked down at her. Small, fragile, brave. Yeah, he said. Family. That night, for the first time in years, Thomas lit a lantern inside the barn and left the door cracked open. Not because he was hiding, but because he wanted the world to see. A monster and an alien child stood inside, working together to plant silver tree seeds in pots made from old cans. 2 outcasts building something new. And as the snow fell lightly over New Haven Colony, it became clear to anyone watching that something had changed. Not just in the barn, but across the entire settlement. Fear was giving way to something stronger, something humans had always carried deep within them, even the broken ones. Hope, the kind that grows roots, the kind that spreads, the kind that starts with a monster and a little girl asking if monsters can be daddies. Thomas placed his hand gently over Lyra's. Yes, he whispered, more certain than ever. They can. And on that quiet winter night, a new legend began, one that the colony, the Valori, and even the stars themselves would never forget.